you're putting them in the landscape, but you're hoisting them to the top of the mountain. Like, put a safety harness on them, but leave the rope slack. Make them do the hard work, catch them if they fall, protect them. But, don't do the work for them.
So I've just switched on the recording. And what I'd love to do, if this is okay, is to just jam a bit and repeat some of what you've said. And if you're okay with this, just throw this onto either your YouTube channel or ours or both. But just sometimes I find myself in these organic conversations which are not planned. And you're just describing this one school. If you could go back, rewind, I didn't catch the recording quite in time. What's the context for that statement about hauling them up the mountain? Because that's where we started the recording.
Yeah, look, it was about struggle being a necessary part of learning, and that in this school that they're very good-hearted, very good-natured. They really love the kids. They care for their kids. They're worried about resilience. They're worried about the impact of COVID and all the rest of it. So they're in this very protective mode. And what they try to do inadvertently is smooth out the learning for them. And everything becomes over-scaffolded and over-easy. And the kids sit back and the kids go, make learning happen to me. And the principal called me in and said, James, look at these reports and tell me what you see. And what I saw were teachers that were apologising for struggle. They were saying, I'm sorry that Mark finds maths so difficult, and James persists even when he finds things difficult. What's with the even when part? Like, it's the when things are difficult that you have to persist. The rest of the time, big deal. And I used my story. I've got a book called The Learning Landscape, and I talk about how to do more difficult things is like climbing up a mountain, these mountains of expertise. And what I said to them was that you're hauling the kids up. What you've got to do is let them do the hard work. Put a harness on them, keep them safe, stop them from falling, but they've got to be the ones participating in the struggle to climb that mountain of expertise. If you haul them up under your strength, they're not actually learning.
So there's got to be some risk. There's got to be some skin in the game. That's what it is.
You can make it safe. You can absolutely make it safe. Don't let them, fail and crash and, fall down the mountainside. But, they've got to put the effort in to do their climb themselves.
So let's flip that. And this is not what we plan to do, but it's just such a fascinating conversation that I'm right in the middle of as well in my own brain. If you do make it safe, what is the cost of making it sanitized safe? What is the cost to the child?
Well, there's a lot. Probably the biggest cost is that they don't learn that struggle is a necessary part of learning. I talk about effort being the cost of growth, the currency of growth. And if you make it easy for them, if you hold their hands every step of the way over scaffold, then they never actually experience that struggle. And if they don't learn to experience it, and importantly, experience two things about it, it's that the struggle brings the growth and that the struggle passes. Like, it's not, a lot of kids think that when they struggle with this, they'll struggle more with the next step and more with the next step. But what actually happens is you struggle with this step and then that step's easy. And you struggle with this step and then that step's easy. And so it doesn't get harder and harder and harder. And that's a mindset issue. So if we take that struggle away from them, they never come to learn and value what that struggle brings and understand that the struggle passes. If you keep taking the struggle off them, then they don't know that, well, what they'll end up doing is the next time something is difficult, they'll say, I can't do that. And then their life becomes about the path of least resistance. I can't do that, I'll try this. I can't do that, I'll try this. And in a landscape metaphor, they end up going downhill all the time. They never really grow.
And it's calling out Carol Dweck's work quite clearly too, but it's a really lovely way of re-explaining the growth mindset that's necessary. A quote that I've really connected to, and I'm going to paraphrase it again on social media, either a short or a TikTok, from Simon Sinek. And he makes this point that everything good comes at a cost. And you flip that, every struggle has a fabulous opportunity. And so they end up being two sides of the coin, that in fact the growth, the outcome that is positive always comes with the cost. And sometimes we try and reduce that cost for ourselves and for other people. But really enjoying what you're saying. You're building a course about this. What, learnership. And excuse the jets that are flying past here in Singapore. Just a quick summary of that.
Learnership is the skill of learning. So I think for particularly the last 10 or 15 years in education, we've heaped all the responsibility for learning on teachers. And that's had increasing pressures on teachers, and we've seen what that does to teachers, and also increasing blame. When things don't go right in the classroom, that's the teacher's fault. And I think it was John Holtz in the 70s, a US educator, who said that learning isn't the product of teaching. Learning is the product of the activity of learners. And we've unbalanced this equation that, we're going to have quality teachers. Absolutely, we need to have quality teachers. But we also need to have quality learning behaviours from students. And so my signature work is around raising the understanding of learning from an act to an art, to be skillful in how we engage in the learning process. And in the conversation we just had, it's about understanding that that struggle is part of learning, and to recognise that if you're the sort of learner that avoids that struggle, then you're not participating in the learning process as skillfully as you could. Some kids avoid the struggle. Some kids take on the struggle because they're told to. Some kids take on the struggle, these are the goal setters, because they want to get somewhere. And other kids take on the struggle because it's there. And they value what comes from it. And they do what JFK talks about, and does these hard things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. And so my work teaches teachers how to help students move through and embrace challenges in that way. Oh, no, I'm not.
Yeah, fabulous description of the environment. And I'd add one more that is, and you probably know John Corrigan and his work, and he's doing some work around teacherly authority, which is that engagement piece. It's not an authority teacher, but it's an authority and teacher, but it's that concept of what separates the outstanding teacher from the average teacher. And there's an element there where kids will actually buy into the struggle because of the quality of the relationship created by the teacher. And that comes back to the disposition of the teacher, to knowing kids, being there, being unconditional, a whole range of elements that sometimes, if it's not intrinsic within the learner, it can be extrinsically generated by the quality of the leader, the teacher, where you'll do more for the teacher or leader than you will for yourself, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, might stop it there. That's a great little jam, organic, just on top of, we're talking about some of the YouTube strategies, but I'll save that and throw that into as a quick little discussion. And our team want to do more of this, actually, because in these sorts of conversations, this is why I learn so much in conversations with creators, because I end up jamming with them. So thanks for that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.